Finally, Mr. Tunde has understood how to expand electricity access through mini-grids. However, Mr. Tunde realizes that in order to successfully deploy a mini-grid in Nigeria, he has to understand all the mini-grid regulations. He decides to ask Mr. Greco, who enlightens him on this. Welcome to Understanding the Mini-Grid Regulations.
Good day. I'm Engineer Chitu Suraj Dandele of Greco Academy. Today's topic will be centered on understanding Nigerian mini-grid regulations. Next slide. The outline of our presentation will be starting from introduction to mini-grid systems, to Nigeria current policy and framework for mini-grids. Next is going to be mini-grid minimum technical and service requirements, and finally we'll mention those key stakeholders that are involved in administering mini-grid in Nigeria. Let's start with the introduction to mini-grid, and then what exactly is mini-grid? This is an electricity supply system that has its own generating capacity, supplying electricity to more than one customer. As we can see from the diagram here, we can see that a solar PV system is supplying electricity to residences and also to commercial agri-processing facility through our multifunctional inverter system, energy storage, which initially the current coming out of the panel is initially the direct current, and then after passing through the inverter system, it turns to the AC current that is supplied to the users or the customers. Based on the regulation that exists in the country, mini-grid we have is either classified into an isolated mini-grid or intercontinental mini-grid, which generates between 0 to 1 megawatt of generating capacity. That means anything above 1 megawatt will not be classified under mini-grid. Now, these mini-grids, as we know, are generally deployed in areas, rural areas and semi-urban areas where there are good or let's say high population density. And it could either be people who use DC appliances or AC appliances. However, AC appliances seems to be the norm of the day. And in that case, an inverter system must definitely be part of the system components. Next slide. Let's talk about the technologies that exist under the mini-grid. Mini-grid can either be a solar photovoltaic technology. It can be that is generated from wind turbine, biomass or biogasification, or those that were designed to be of hybrid diesel system in combination with batteries. Whichever battery type are used, they come in as an hybrid system. Today, in the country, Nigeria has over 20 mini-grid systems that use renewable energy system. That's either solar or the use of wind turbine. But solar is the most prominent among the mini grids that we have in the country. Next slide. We shall be talking about the NEC mini grid regulation. NEC, which stands for the regulator, they are the regulator, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. They are the regulator of the mini grid sector. And as we have said, the aim is actually to accelerate the electrification of rural areas to underserved or underserved people of a community. Apart from the fact that they regulate the system, they also give permits to developers. And also, they are the ones involved in tariff settings for mini grid developers. These are some of the functions of NEC. And the essence of all these activities that NEC carry out around the mini grid is actually aimed at addressing the risk, reducing the risk of developing mini grids by the developers. So, the framework that we are talking about, the policies, we have a lot of policies behind that, but there is a particular policy that actually deals with the mini grid sector. And that is the one that was released on the 24th of May 2017 by NEC, and which was adopted. It was actually written back in 2016, but it was adopted in 2017. This regulation was actually a complete framework that authorized mini grid systems. As we have said, NEC has been saddled with the responsibilities of regulating the sector. So, most part of the activities that a developer will be carrying out under the mini grid system will have to be looking towards the regulatory body, NEC as a regulatory body. Next, we will be talking about the three types of mini grid that NEC has mentioned in the regulatory policy document. If you remember, we have initially classified it into two, as isolated mini grid and intercontinental mini grid. However, since it has been distinguished into three mini grids, that means the isolated mini grids were actually subdivided into two, while the intercontinental mini grid still stands as one. And the isolated mini grid system is either talking about those mini grids that are less than 100 kilowatts capacity. In this case, a developer only asks for a permit to develop such system. It is optional for them to register such sites. Next is that of the isolated mini grid that has more than 100 kilowatts of distributed power capacity, from 100 to 1 megawatt. In this case, the developer is expected to apply for permit compulsorily. and must also have an agreement with the community. So I want to believe that we are able to differentiate between the two isolated mini-grid systems. The third, which is the intercontinental mini-grid, which of course is regardless of the size, is usually meant for those underserved communities, that is, areas where power from the public utility is not enough. So the mini-grid can now either complement, or in the case where the power is not even coming at all. Under this plan, or under this mini-grid type, a developer is expected to sign a tripartite contract with the local community and the DISCO that is covering that particular community state within the federation. And finally, NEC is responsible for the approval of such tripartite contracts. When an intercontinental or isolated mini-grid has a generating capacity that is beyond 1 megawatt, it is no more a mini-grid, but it is an independent power plant, abbreviated as IPP. Next slide. We have here a figure showing the registration application process for an isolated mini-grid of above, the initial one was supposed to be of above or below 1 megawatt, which was actually sourced from REA website. The developer is initially expected to identify an eligible underserved area. Under this same intercontinental mini-grid system, the second step is expected of the developer is that they will have to contact the DISCO in charge of that jurisdiction or community for an operating agreement which needs to be signed. The third step is that the contract will have to be signed between the community and the DISCO, which brings us to what we call an exclusivity period. That means the fourth step is where the tripartite contract is now being signed and registered. The three entities now signed, and the document is being taken for approval. The fifth step is that the developer go ahead to carry out his or her system design, after which the signed commercial agreements with the community and the DISCO takes them next to acquiring land for necessary building approval. Step 8 is where the developer now applies to NEC for an operating permit based on the tripartite contract document signed. And lastly, the developer constructs, tests, and commissions the mini-grid plan. This is a typical registration application for an intercontinental mini-grid system, which is, of course, below 1 megawatt. Next, is registration application process for an isolated mini-grid of above 100 kilowatt system. Here, the Developer identifies the unserved area. Next, she contacts the community to sign off an exclusive agreement, meaning that no only other developer will be able to come to that area after he, as the first person, have come into that community and have an agreement with such community. The third is a system design, after which they will now sign a commercial agreement with the community. After signing the agreement, the next thing to do by the developer is to acquire a land in the community necessary for building. This could either be leased through lease or rented land or free land. After then, the developer will have to apply to NEC for an operating permit for such community. Seventh step is that the developer then goes ahead to construct, test, and commission the mini-grid plant. And finally, he will have to submit hard copies and soft copy of all supporting documents to relevant authority. This covers the two isolated mini-grid system classification. Next, we are going to go a little bit deeper into the intercontinental mini-grid, taking it from the isolated system. Looking at this picture, whereby it is said that it integrates mini-grids in undergrid communities. First, on the left top side is the distribution company supplying power to an urban community, and at the same time a self-generated diesel system supplying power to a rural community. Then there is an unreliable supply between these two, probably because of the distance that is involved. Now, the developers are now proposing the replacement or part using range of solar PV and diesel generating system, which now makes it an hybrid system to supply power to this rural community. And at the same time, there is still a break between this system in this rural community and that of the urban community where the distribution companies are. Lastly, that is the proposed system. Lastly, it's for the long-term plan is how do we join the two systems, that of the distribution companies supplying power to the urban community and that of the solar hybrid system supplying power to the rural community. How do we intercontinent them together? That's going to be the long-term plan, which we believe is an additional cost saving. Mini-grid becomes a distributed resource supporting the grid, the unreliable grid. Now, the next slide is we are now looking at the next regulation of tariff setting. If you remember, I said one of the functions of NEC has to do with the tariff setting, which actually is based on the mini grid regulation of 2016. This tariff allows the mini grid developer to set his tariff using the MITO 2 methodology. And normally, what is expected is that the tariff should be cost reflective. And what is actually existing for now is that this mini grid cost is still higher than what is being offered by discos. On an average, you see community people paying up to 140 per kilowatt power as compared to the less than 70 naira that people do pay for power from the distribution system, distribution companies. Apart from this next regulation, which the developer needs to put into consideration while he is working, another regulation which needs to be taken serious is that of the environmental regulation or legislation, which a mini grid developer is expected to fulfill through the Federal Ministry of Environment. Some call it EIA, some call it ESNP, whichever way you want to call it. There are a lot of templates available on the REA website that a developer is expected to use in reporting the result of the environmental assessment that is done on the site of the project. If in any way the analysis reveals that projects will affect the environment, the developer must have to undertake an EIA. But one thing is that NEC does not usually require a sign-off by environmental agency to approve this application. But it is expected that a developer must carry out an ESMP on his or her proposed site. It is very, very important. Now, next slide, we'll be talking about the minimum technical and service requirements. Although, at present, it's a little bit more complex than this because of the NEMSA, the recently approved NEMSA regulations, which is not actually covered here, but it is expected that a developer complies with the standards available. One of such is that they must maintain operational voltage of between 94 to 106% of nominal voltage value of line between 230 volts and 415 volts to 333 kVA. The other operational voltage is that it has to be maintained between 95% and 105 if eventually the nominal voltage is between 415 and 33 kVA. Next is the frequency that is expected to be maintained by this plant, which of course is between 48.5 and 51.75 Hz. So all these are requirements that are well spelled out in the NEC and other mini-grid regulation documents, which the developer is expected to go through, or their engineers or the independent consultant, as the case may be. Next slide, we are going to be showing the key stakeholders that are involved in administering these mini-grid sites. Starting from the Ministry of Power, Federal Ministry of Power, to the Rural Electrification Agency REA, to the Federal Ministry of Environment, NEC, NEMSA, the mini-grid developers themselves, and even the DISCOs, and finally the community people that will serve as a customer to this power that will be produced. Each of these organizations or agency or bodies have responsibility towards achieving the aim of the power sector. This brings it to the end of our presentation. For those that may have one question or the other to ask, you may contact us at Greco Academy, Block 1, Drive 5, Second Gate, Prince and Princess Estate, Kaura District, Abuja, FCT. You can also get across to us through our website at www.grecopower.com.ng or email us at info@grecopower.com. Finally, you can give us a call on 08090207682. We look forward to collaborating with you. Thank you.